Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. Navigating a snowy city can be challenging at the best of times. It becomes even more difficult if you have accessibility needs. And disability advocates in Whitehorse say it becomes almost impossible if snow and ice aren't properly cleared. It's an issue we've heard about recently here on Northbeat, and one that's been brought up before at Whitehorse City Council. Last night, it was brought up again. Advocates say Whitehorse is not dedicating enough money to accommodate people with adaptive needs.
They're about to approve a $305 million four-year capital expenditure program, and they designated $400,000, $100,000 each year, to what's called para-RAMs, which, you know, it's great. They're providing that money, but it's meaningless if they're not going to maintain those para-ramps. So right now, many of those ramps that they've already put in place, they're covered in snow and ice, so you can't even use them. So I think that really what they're offering is breadcrumbs on the bigger picture of the capital expenditure program budget.
Accessibility advocates say they want the city to do more. They point to the need for bigger accessible parking spots and better snow removal. Meanwhile, Whitehorse Mayor Laura Cabot says the city is making changes. She says it's increased the budget for snow removal, which she hopes will be noticeable this winter. Adaptive athletes are among a large contingent doing early season training in Whitehorse, and with a major international para-sports event on the horizon, questions about the city's accessibility aren't going away. Cheryl Kawaja has that story.
Canadian Paralympic gold medalist Tyler Turner has been training daily at Mount Sema. It's his first time in the Yukon, but he and many other para-snowboarders will be back this winter.
We're going to have, close to 100 para-athletes here, so I guess that'll be a great test of how accessible the town is.
It'll be interesting to see how Whitehorse really responds to like a larger competitive para community, adaptive community coming to the city and coming to the mountain. I would say right now they're batting a C- at best. So we'll see. This could be the wake-up call for them, really.
Turner is at SEMA for an early season training camp. Teams from all over flock to the hill to get on snow as early as possible. But for Canadian para-snowboarders, it's a chance to get familiar with Whitehorse and Mount Sema. Together with elite adaptive athletes from around the world, they'll be back when Whitehorse hosts the Para World Cup Finals in March.
I'll take that.
It's a big deal, says the Canadian coach.
We haven't hosted that in Canada as of yet. We've had a World Championships, but not the real banger at the end of the year. And we're excited to showcase what we have here and what we've built up at Mount Sema.
In terms of the slopes, Turner says he couldn't be more pumped to finish the World Cup season on home turf in Canada. He says he can't wait to come back, and he's pleased it will bring attention to issues like accessibility. Cheryl Kawaja, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The next fire season may be months away, but people in the Northwest Territories are looking ahead to it right now, and some of them are worried, especially in Fort Liard. It's known as the Tropics of the North for its relatively warm temperatures and large trees, and it was threatened by a wildfire this summer that also claimed the life of a local firefighter. But as Luke Carroll reports, despite the risks, the community still has no adequate protection.
I was in tears because there is no fire break.
No fire break.
No fire break at all, none soever.
Rose Batali-Reed is fearful for next summer.
I live right by the airport. It's full of grass. It's really, really dangerous.
She experienced the past wildfire season in Fort Liard, the only community in the territory that had a death during the fire season.
He gave his life doing what I love doing.
Jack Eden's 25-year-old son, Adam, was fatally injured battling wildfires in July, and he fears what's to come.
And I think the temperature's going up, so I see difficulty in the future.
The federal government earmarked $20 million for fire protection for the NWT. The money is to be used for construction of fire breaks. But Fort Liard Senior Administration Officer says more information is needed to plan the clear cutting required to protect it. Sarah Brown is the CEO of the NWT Association of Communities, which is coordinating the federal funding.
And it was to be spread out over 8 years. So this year was going to be a year to get organized, and this is a big project for us, and get agreements with all the communities in place.
Brown says her organization will be lobbying the federal government to provide the money sooner. That way, communities can complete the work earlier. A spokesperson for the federal government said they could not give details on the negotiations to ensure partner confidentiality. Luke Carroll, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Residents living in West Dawson, Yukon will have to wait a bit longer before they can safely cross the Yukon River. A large section of the waterway at Dawson City remains open, as you can see there. Warm weather has held up construction of the town's annual ice bridge. It's the only way to cross once the ferry stops running for the season. Residents say the river is usually long frozen by now, and people are running out of supplies.
4 types of supplies that I really need. I need wood, I need fuel for my generator, I need water, and I need propane. Right now, I have maybe 10 days worth of food left, so I would have to go get food one way or the other.
Filipovich says some residents have started crossing upriver using an unofficial trail. That's a risk he's not willing to take. He's urging the Yukon government to consider a year-round solution. Meanwhile, the Department of Highways and Public Works says the safety of Dawson City residents and visitors is top priority. It's asking the public to avoid crossing the river until the ice bridge is in place. Last week, we told you about a boil water advisory in Delaunay NWT. Today, that advisory has been lifted. People had been told to boil water before using it for things like cooking and drinking because of increased turbidity or mud in the water. Those levels have now dropped, and people in the community can go back to drinking the water from the taps. But the NWT Department of Health says you should run your taps for at least 1 minute to flush out the pipes and change out any drinking water filters. It was a scary situation last week during the blizzard that hit Rankin Inlet. A rescue team from Meliadine Mine spent 30 hours looking for a person stranded in the storm. The person was traveling in a pickup truck between the mine and Rankin Inlet. Winds were gusting up to 120 kilometers an hour. Visibility was brutal, and the driver ended up trapped. They called for help, and the rescue team was able to save the person while the storm raged on.
Once the rescue team got to the person, we conducted a quick medical assessment that our emergency response captain did, and we were happy to see there was no frostbite, no injury. And as soon as we were able to bring the person back at the mine, our clinic staff did a full medical to ensure that he was in good shape.
In India, another happy ending to a dramatic rescue. 41 men have been freed from a collapsed tunnel where they'd been trapped for 17 days. Rescuers pulled out the construction workers one by one through a narrow passageway of welded pipes inserted through the rubble. All are said to be in good condition. Food, water, oxygen, and medicine were supplied to the trapped workers through a pipe. The cause of the collapse is under investigation. A wolf expert says an encounter between a hiker and a pack of wolves near Yellowknife is not abnormal. Sadie Parr has been studying wolves for years. She says wolves have an incredible sense of smell, and they likely got a whiff of Stephanie Yule and her dogs when they crossed paths over the weekend. Yule ended up climbing a hydro tower and waiting to be rescued. Parr says the wolves might have just been keeping a close watch.
It's very likely that they picked up on the smell of dogs or the dogs that were with her from a distance. I mean, they can smell prey a couple of kilometers away if the wind is right? And this is where, again, their very survival depends on these keen senses. So whether it was smell or something else that triggered the presence of dogs in that area, wolves will respond They're very sensitive and shy animals, so typically they will avoid humans. But when there's an unknown member of the dog family, be it a dog, a wolf, a coyote, um, they can feel threatened. They perceive it as a threat. And that can come on different levels, especially if there's young around, right? But who's to say that they weren't either defending an animal that they had brought down? Perhaps there was a carcass in the area. Perhaps there was a hunting opportunity nearby. In any case, they came across paths of an unknown member of the dog family, which is can be a direct threat, again, to if there's pups, or an indirect threat to food resources. So what I perceive of the incident, and what is not atypical with people and dogs, is that the wolves simply made their presence known, and then shadowed or escorted those unfamiliar canids off of their territory.
Parr says Yule did a lot of things right when she ran into the pack of wolves. She was standing tall, making noise, using her voice in an authoritative way, staying calm, and of course calling for help. Parr says it's something we can all practice and prepare ourselves for. The dream of a fully functional makerspace in Fort Smith is becoming a reality. Last February, it was just an idea. Now, the community has a temporary space that holds 2 workshops a week. Carla Ulrich has that story.
My favorite thing to do at the makerspace is mostly wood burn and stuff.
The small room has been loaned to the Tabacha Makerspace by Aurora College. In it, they have sewing machines, power tools, a t-shirt press, and so much more. They currently hold workshops on Wednesday evenings and Friday afternoons. Whitney Locken is the regional coordinator for the Makerspace Ecosystem Project. She said this Wednesday's workshop is extra special.
We're doing knitting and crocheting, and the idea is we've asked a bunch of people to donate wool or yarn, and we're trying to get the community together to make hats, mitts, and scarves and stuff like that for people in Enterprise who lost their belongings to the wildfire.
Locken's daughter, Ren, loves hanging out at the Makerspace and making lots of cool stuff.
The Makerspace is one of the most perfect places for me to be because I like building stuff. Like one time we did bat boxes.
A group of community members and organizations helped establish the Tabacha Makerspace. It has gone so well that they are now ready to grow. And Locken says they have started the application process to become a nonprofit society.
That can open the door for funding so that we can start offering workshops and having more people in, getting more equipment and that sort of thing. And then ultimately a bigger space where we can actually have a wood shop or a metal shop and make noise and get dirty. So that's all in the works.
A big focus right now is STEAM-based projects. STEAM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Locken says they want the space to be as sustainable as possible while still being fun. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
It's an idea that'll put power into the hands of Indigenous people. A British Columbia First Nation is hoping an ambitious wave energy plan will be its path to reviving a historic village. Radio Canada's Camille Vernet traveled to Yuquot to hear about the project that's bringing hope to displaced people.
The ride is choppy as we make our way to Nootka Island on the Vancouver Island's west coast. It's this energy moving the waters of the Pacific Ocean that this scientist is trying to harness.
So it measures wave height, period, so the time in between 2 crests or troughs of a wave. The great thing about wave energy is they can travel for hundreds of kilometers with very low loss of energy. So ultimately that's what we're trying to harness, whether it be from storms way out in the North Pacific or closer to shore as well.
Not only are waves predictable, they're reliable. Even on this calm, rainy day, there's plenty of wave action.
That's really where wave will shine. so to speak, is in the winter months when there's tons of energy available and there's high demand for that electricity as well.
This energy project is led by the Mowachat Muchalat First Nation. It's part of their plan to bring power to their ancestral village, Yuquot, and bring the people back to this historic place.
They call their village Yuquot.
This used to be a much larger, tight-knit community. Today, only a couple of homes still stand here, alongside a church and a lighthouse. Darrell William Jr., his father and son, are the last ones to be living here.
It was my grandpa's last wish for me to stay out here, so I will.
His grandparents are the only ones who never left the island.
15 years, I guess. It was just me and my son and my grandparents out here.
Life here is tough and incredibly isolated.
We got solar panels out here. We had a windmill, but it kept breaking down.
Most of the members of the nation who used to call Yuquot home now live an hour boat ride away, near Gold River on Vancouver Island. Anthony Dig has always yearned for return to Yuquot.
Homesick, feel like I've always felt like moving home to Yuquot because I grew up there and it gave me plenty of things to do out there. It gave me a playground, it gave me fishing, it gave me everything.
In the 60s, many relocated to Aminacus on the coast, where they were promised jobs at the paper mill.
I had no choice. We had no choice. I had no choice. Our parents had no choice because they shut down our school.
Air pollution from the mill is 5 times greater here than it is 8 miles down the road in Gold River, where the white people live.
Life here at the foot of the mill was not as promised.
It was horrible there. We were like from here to those trees from the pulp mill, and we had lived with this, the soot, the smell. You could never leave the windows open. The kids couldn't play out. You couldn't go swimming anymore in the water, and there was not too much fish anymore. It deteriorated a lot in those years, and from when the pulp mill existed there. And we had a bit of our people that worked there, but it wasn't as many that should have worked there.
For Margaret James, this energy project is a glimmer of hope.
So this wave project, there's an opportunity there. If it becomes a reality, for people to move back. And there lots of people, elders, have said they would do it.
Reliable and renewable energy is just a first step in what it will take to return.
The biggest problem is we have to start over again. We got to start over from getting off a boat, transportation in and out, and communications.
It will take until 2025 before enough data is collected. The cost may be a challenge, as harnessing the power of the ocean is a complex task.
It is so energy dense that really beats up anything you put in the ocean. Corrosion from salt water, so it's a very challenging environment from an engineering perspective.
But hope for a community that could rise again, and a way of honoring Darrell Jr.'s grandfather, who simply refused to leave.
He would have liked to see this happen. Wave energy, he was pretty hopeful for it, but he couldn't be here to see it.
The power of the ocean, a small step in energizing a return to their coastal roots. Camille Vernet, CBC News, Yuquot.
I'm Kathleen Goldhart, host of a new podcast, Crime Story. Every week, we bring you a different crime, told by the storyteller who knows it best. All the ins and outs.
It was a story of murder, of exploitation of a schoolgirl.
You got one witness who can't be found. You got another witness who has changed his entire story.
I remember just this feeling of like complete disbelief.
Crime Story, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
You are constantly on the move, and so are we, making sense of the moments that matter together.
Looks like things are maybe winding down.
Asking what, why, when.
To the center of the biggest stories meeting the people living them.
Thank you for letting us be here. What's your situation?
Making sense of our world.
How are we going to be part of this solution?
With you and for you.
Connectedness, groundedness.
I'm Adrienne Arsenault. This is The National.
Canadians of generations have been miseducated.
But we don't talk about that.
We are here. We have been here.
These stories are us.
Yeah, dog!
Oh, an absolute classic.
All right.
Let's go! Yeah!
This is The National.
Every week, the issues that matter to Canadians.
These are acts of desperation.
Connecting politics to people.
Some people have lost everything.
Join me for Rosemary Barton Live.
The first regular season professional women's hockey league game will be held in Toronto on New Year's Day at the rink inside the former Maple Leaf Gardens. Toronto will face New York for the inaugural game. All 6 teams will host home openers within the first 2 weeks of January, with teams set to play 24 games each during the league's first season. One of the most cherished holiday traditions for many is decorating a Christmas tree. Unfortunately, there are many who can't afford to have one. So, in Winnipeg, someone is giving them away to people who need them. The CBC's Zubina Ahmed brings you more.
What do you think we should put in this box? This is going to go to a family that has a small child.
Kimberly Cable is brightening many households this Christmas. She's been helping families with Christmas trees and decorations for 3 years.
I believe that Christmas always starts with the tree and the decorations and the lights and how it brings smiles, and it just escalates from there. Through many hands, I reach out, communities are reaching back to make a difference, to help families.
Boy or girl, do you know?
Cable's helping heart comes from some of her dark experiences in the past. In 2009, she had a car accident and she suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. 2 years later, she experienced homelessness because of more struggles in her life.
I myself deal with a lot of depression, and so it gets me out, right? It impels me to get up, keep moving. There's people that need help. So Vern, these are what we're going to take to this house.
Cable says she learned about the importance of giving from her father, and it continues to guide her actions to help others. When the pandemic hit, Cable saw people in her neighborhood struggling. She took to St. James' social media pages to ask for donations of trees and ornaments. Her family and friends helped her assemble boxes and deliver.
The response was incredible. I think we're well over 120 families that we've helped since 2020, and it just grows. This cannot be made possible without the people in Winnipeg making this happen. I'm the voice. They reach back, and the donations come.
Ho, ho, ho!
Awesome, thank you.
Cable delivered this Christmas tree to Judy Smith. Smith has 3 sons with disabilities and is struggling to make ends meet.
I didn't think I was going to have a Christmas for them, but a tree is good. I mean, she made us happy. It's like a special gift.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug? You bet.
Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Thank you so much.
Another way to give during the holiday season is Giving Tuesday. It's meant to celebrate and encourage giving back to the community. It takes place after Cyber Monday and marks the opening day of the giving season. Sarah Levitt has more from Montreal.
Vous avez trouvé un manteau, c'est ça?
Oui.
Fernand Desrues is on the hunt for a new winter coat.
Regardez plus chaud.
It's going to keep me warmer than my summer coat, he says. The coat is free, one of thousands donated across Quebec to homeless shelters and community organizations.
There's a massive outpouring of generosity, which is, I think, because of inflation, because of the housing crisis, because of the refugee crisis, people are seeing more suffering. They're more aware, they're more informed, and that's leading to generosity.
Across the country, Giving Tuesday is being celebrated. In Toronto, these bank employees are spending their day prepping free hygiene kits for those in need.
Often in our own busy life, we forget about neighbors and friends in need. And today is a moment to remember and to do a small thing that makes a big difference.
Giving Tuesday, a campaign meant as a counter to the consumerism of Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
The idea was, let's have a day when we think about our giving and we give back to the community. And that was the genesis of Giving Tuesday.
The rising cost of living has more and more people seeking help, and government aid propping up nonprofits throughout the pandemic is gone. And yet, in a time of great need,
giving has remained incredibly strong. Canadians are generous, and giving has doubled since 2011.
This year is on track to follow that trend. Canadians spent more money on shopping this past weekend than expected. Shopify says sales from merchants using its software were 22% higher than last year. That spending, experts say, is a good indicator of how much people will be willing to donate in turn. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night, and we'll leave you with a look at the forecast for tomorrow.
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. No alcohol, no drugs, no victims. A message from Mad Canada.
I want my children home where they should be.
You'll go to jail if you don't sign.
There's gonna come a time you'll feel the darkness. You don't let them win.
I understand that you're struggling emotionally.
Sure you want to do this?
I mean, it's research, right? You need to stop asking me for things I can't give you. You've done it my whole life.
We have an incredible show lined up for you tonight.
Wow!
Get the news you need without restrictions. Download the free CBC News app.
I want my children home where they should be.
You'll go to jail if you don't sign.
There's gonna come a time you'll feel the darkness. You don't let them win.
I understand that you're struggling emotionally.
Sure you want to do this? I mean, it's research, right? You need to stop asking me for things I can't give you. You've done it my whole life.